Content warning. Following program contains smoking, sometimes potty mouth language, discussions, of violence. So we've said something, and there you go. Hey, ahoy, ahoy, ahoy. How you guys doing out there? What is the word? What is the word? What is the word? How you guys feeling out there? How's it going? What is going on? I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from an alternate dimension that I like to call the Wizard's Tower. And welcome to the Dark Side of the Room, the show where we talk about RPGs and painting things and tabletop miniatures, and building terrain, and all of those things that we nerds, we dorks, we do all of those things to remind us why we work so hard and how we enjoy doing stuff with our kids and all that. Our kids, ourselves, all that other. So thank you guys for showing up. This particular week, we are delving into Shadowrun, a game of 1,000 D6s, exploding D6s, and a whole lot of other things. Let me get my coffee. Together, you guys grab your drinks, put in your headphones, and make sure that your boss doesn't notice you guys not working and listening to us as we delve into this. And today, I got a special surprise. Now, if you guys want to know a little bit more about the prices and all that stuff, feel free to reach out at backinthedeck@gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK. You can also hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. Of course, I call those the social media that everybody has and no one likes. So, also on the TikTok, and working on putting more stuff up on I'm really leery because like most of the stuff I do are making phone calls, reading books, and researching stuff pretty much by myself. So I'm like, look, it's a picture of me reading a book. Look, it's another picture of me reading a book. Look, it's me on the phone. I don't know. So let me know what you guys want to see on them social medias, and I'll start putting it up there. And if you are part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy where memes go to die and old people get their news, Facebook, you can join the group Deckers on the Book. And if you do so today, I have a special gift for all of you there. Now, I want to give a major shout out to my patrons, because we do have a Patreon. On my royalty tier, we got Laura Holton, Kaylee Watson, Jennifer Kroll, Noel Island, Glenn Couch, Christopher Chalmers, and Joseph Himes. Don't worry, your stuff should be going out into mail by Friday. And a major shout out to our newest patron, Xanthiads. Thank you so much for joining the $10 tier. And that is definitely on the tiers. That helps us keep the doors open, keep the computers fixed, and keep the internet. That is a really big thing. And if you guys want to help out like that, you can push the donate button that's down in the description if you're looking at us on the YouTubes, or if you're looking at us on Twitch, just scroll down a little bit. There's a bunch of buttons, and one of them is marked Patreon, and another one is marked donations. If you only want to give us a little cash just one time, I totally understand, because I am made of flesh, blood, and turtlenecks, not out of money, and I suppose you guys too, except for maybe as many as the turtlenecks. Now, if you guys really want some fun, I mean this very, very much, and guess what? Well, we've got merchandising. Look at all this stuff right here. That's right, we got our coffee mugs going. We got the t-shirts and tank tops, the hoodies, even the baseball shirts, which I kind of like very much. And since we do a lot of talk of crafting and role-playing games, you're going to be taking a lot of notes, all right? So I personally really like the notebooks right here. That is just some really stuff, and that is just one of the mastery efforts where our merch will be available to you guys. I'm trying to open the second one, and here's how all that stuff goes. So now that we got all that stuff down and you guys know how to contact us and all that stuff, this is where I'm like, please subscribe to the channel, please friends subscribe to the channel, let them know that we are like really cool, and that was super awesome. So let us in the day. Actually got the phone off because, well, you know, I am super. So let's see who's in the chat today. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Supa. 420. Yeah, I think that's 420 Fiction. Ox2, Alexis the Nexus, Casino Thanks, Commander Roots is Nickable. Kitten Rescue, hey, it's good to have you back. And of course, Clever Little Vixen holding it down like gravity. So thank you so much for being here today. Now, yesterday we started talking about Shadowrun, a whole lot of talking the lore as a whole. And it's to pull out my super thick book. Super thick. Why is it super thick? We're going to be getting into that today. But as it stands right now, let's talk about some of the other really important things that, well, that I wanted to cover today, because again, this is a series and all of us. There we go. Alright, so if you guys like the game and all that stuff, you know, feel free to join our Discord server, because Discord, we have a whole lot of cool stuff that goes on there. We also have all of those other ways to get a hold of us, and yeah, all that stuff is fun, happy, and they're happy and prosperous and all of those things. And yeah, so let's get on with the show as it stands today. Now, I posted a question. Okay, and the question today was, well, let's actually take really close look. Do folks overall love Shadowrun? Yes, I know they love Shadowrun. Okay, I know a lot of you guys running all that other stuff. That's right. Is the binding on my is still intact on my? Yes, it is. Very much intact. Okay. Again, I have a special advantage because I used to work at a gaming store, at a comic store, so there's that. But today's question, folks, overall, love Shadowrun because of the world or the mechanics? Okay, that is I wanted to get into today, because Shadowrun, any edition, is crunchy, crunchity crunch. There is so much crunch in this book. Now, if you guys are new to the role-playing world, all right, let me give you guys some of the jargon that we use. Now, when we're talking about role-playing games, I don't care if it's Dungeons & Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, Shadowrun, Innomine, Esper Genesis, Midnight, anything from AEG, Mech Warrior, it doesn't matter. Okay? Every gaming system has the fluff, which is the setting, the lore, fiction, stuff that we make all of our novels and short stories out of, and crunch that are the game mechanics. How do you have magic powers? How do you have super tech? What dice do you roll? How do you play this game without just going, no you don't, yes I do, no I don't, yes I do? And there are thousands of role-playing games out there on the market. Thousands. All right. If you guys are here, that means you spend time on the internet, and on the internet, they really just talk about they talk about two, and those are the top two on the planet, which are Dungeons and Dragons and Call of Cthulhu. Cthulhu is really big in Japan and the UK. Dungeons and Dragons is big in the UK and in the United States. So now that we have all that, the real talk, okay, really real talk is every game, all of these role-playing games, they have their own way of playing. Dungeons and Dragons, the 20 system with the advantage and disadvantage mechanic. Pathfinder uses old D20, which is pick a 20-sided dice, add your bonus, and hit those target numbers. Victoriana from Heresy Games from 20 years ago had a lot of different ways to do it, but Heresy Games 20 years ago had the D18 system, which was 3D6. What is going on, the Nerdy Brew? I am so glad that you were here. So yeah, it really is a lot of different ways to play all of these elaborate games. And each one of those ways is called the crunch mechanics. How do you get down to the thing? What do we do? And Shadowrun. We talked about the fluff yesterday, and this fluff is deep, okay? But let me sum up in as quick as you can with this book. This is this is a game of Tolkien-esque fantasy crammed into Blade Runner. You've got starting from the year 2050, you've got a dystopian megacity hellscape of mega corporations that run every aspect of life. You need licenses for everything, but though there are corporations that have their own security squads and their own police force and gangs that work for a lot of these mega corporations. Mega corporations control everything from transhuman technology, cybernetics, drugs, and magic. You've got geopolitics and dragons. Never trust a dragon. If you see a dragon, pray it doesn't perceive you. Run away because you are not qualified. And essentially, in the year 2012, when the Mayan calendar ran out, after the Mayan calendar ran out in the year of 2012, magic came back to the world. And the world as it stood in 2012 took magic and did what it does, and that is commodify it, give it corporate powers, and there you go. And you and your characters are Shadowrunners, meaning people that live in the underground economy, pulling off heists and security forces and stuff for these dystopian companies and stuff like that. Interesting. It doesn't look like I'm coming in very good focus on YouTube. Let me double check. Oh, no wonder. My signal is coming in at 144 FPS. Let me know, Nerdy Brew or Daryl, if everything's coming in good. So that is the setting, and there are a lot of cool stories that you can. And again, Shadowrun is a game that has been around for about 30 years now. 35 years, as a matter of fact. And it has got a loyal following because a lot of people, especially people in franchise sectors of the United States, are not really big on standard Tolkien-esque fantasy. Primarily because in Tolkien-esque fantasy, yeah, right? Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna say Spectrum! In standard Tolkien-esque fantasy, they don't really make a whole lot of room for Jewish people, LGBTQ, people whose skin color looks like mine, Mesoamerica, that kind of thing. So Shadowrun was one of the things that, if you wanted to play Tolkien-esque fantasy, feel like you belonged and didn't feel othered, you could drop that in because, well, you're in Seattle, and Seattle's got just about everybody. Or you can try and drop things in Los Angeles, which is controlled by Japan. It's a big. Again, amazing story opportunities, amazing ways to play pretend. This stuff is just plain awesome stuff, right? But how do you actually play? That is the the really, 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 really big thing. Yeah. How do you play? Well, you play the game by creating characters, and we were gonna do Chummer today. I wanted to let you guys know we're gonna use Chummer, which is a web-based app that lets you hurry up and make a character really quickly, and it would print out your character or leave your character on the hard drive. I love being a role-playing nerd in the 21st century. But it doesn't have the stuff for 3rd edition. It generally only has the stuff for 6th edition. So, but we're gonna go back to 3rd because that's the hardcover book I have. I don't want to be hit for copyright. And speaking of which, I left you guys a little gift today, okay? And the little gift that I left for you guys, and this is literally something that I wanted to put up for you guys just to make sure that everybody has got a little bit of a thing, okay? I believe it's a little bit of a thing. Let me double check to see if it's up there. I'm going here. Just go to my profile, go home, because I put up something. I was gonna put it on Discord, but I don't have the money to do Nitro yet, and I'm limited to the file sizes of things I can upload. So let me double check to see if now the community home, topics, discussion, media. Nope. Files. That's right. That is what I did for you guys today. If you guys are already part of Deckers on the Book of Faces, that wretched hive of scum and villainy, I have uploaded for you guys a PDF of the Shadowrun Quick Start Pack that was given away at Free Comic Day 2012. Right? So I wanted to let you guys know that's there in the group. I'll let you in and all of that stuff right in files, and yeah, that is what we can do, you guys, so that everybody has access to playing this stuff, because at Back in the Deck, that's what we do. All right, that is what we do. We're like, hey, we love all these games. Here, have sample. Try it before you buy it, because you don't want to buy it and have remorse. So if you join Deckers on the Book on Facebook and go to files, and you can download your own copy of the Quick Start Guide. And one of the reasons I decided to change up today's show is because most quick start guides for role-playing game are maybe 4 pages with a 10-page adventure to start you out. Shadowrun's is 37. So there's a lot of crunch in this. Now, we went over the different character roles yesterday. Street Samurai, Adept, Faces, Deckers, Riggers, and Wizards, right? And, but how do this game, stuff in this game to actually work? Well, it's actually a lot simpler than it reads in the book. That is the thing that I want to show you guys. Okay. Now, this game consists of a butt ton of D6 dice. What are D6 dice? D6 dice are the dice that you are used to having. Hello. These. All right. Now, when you have something going on your D6 die, all right, you'll have like a standard skill check. You have your attributes and all that stuff. So if you like fighting, you'll probably have a good strength or body check. If you magic, you'll have other stuff. But let's say the dungeon master or the gamekeeper or the game master or whatever it is that you call the person that actually wrote the outline to the story that you should be going through, says, okay, what you gonna do? Step 1, describe what you'd like to do. I'd like to kick the door in. Well, that's an unarmed combat roll. And, given what the door is made from, what's the frame, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Xanathate, you're getting a little close there. If you mix some crunch in the fluff, you'll get the chew exquisite mouthfeel. And that's true. That's one of the reasons why everyone loves the Snickers bar. So you will have, let's say, a difficulty of 5. Okay? You'll have a difficulty of 5. And they'll say, all right, so get to roll 5 dice, and what you're looking for is a 5 or higher. Meet or beat 5, right? Well, you roll the dice. Okay? And once you roll the dice, you have 1 die that's 5 or higher. That is a success, but it's barely a success. You pull it off, but you don't pull it off with style, right? So yeah, that is essentially it. A lot of systems use this. Roll a handful of dice and pull out how many work, all right? Now, with this, you really don't want to add up the total number. That is a different mechanic, all right? So what I'm doing here, see, now in this one, we have 5 or more, right? This one has exploding D6s, and what does that mean? That means pop, 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 all right? This D6 will now explode into another D6, and now you add those two, okay? Now, if the second die had been another D6, that would have exploded. And just add it to how amazingly you can pull something off. Now, this is very, very important because sometimes the difficulty will be higher than 6. It'll be 8, 9, 10, 11, and you'll only have 5 dice, but you'll need an 11. Sometimes you'll have 6 dice, sometimes you'll have 7 dice. So you're hoping for them 6s, right? Come on, give me a 6, give me a 6, give me a 6. Yes! Except rolled some 1s. Now 1s are automatic failures, and they do I gotta double check to see if if failures cancel out successes, but in case they don't, this is a failed roll so far, okay? But say you need that difficulty of 11, well, you rolled a 6, so now you get to roll an additional die for the 6. That's a 6. Yes, you're at 12. So now you have a success. And that 6 now explodes to a 3. So that 12 becomes a 4. And that is essentially how you know whether or not you pass or fail on dice rolls and hit rolls and stuff like that. Movement in this game is a little difficult because you have different types of actions. You can attack, you can run, you can defend, okay? And when you're in combat, you can choose to spend all of your stuff on attacking, bop, 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 and then you got nothing left to defend yourself with. Or you can not attack and put everything you got into your defense and just be like, no! Either one is good. So there's a lot of room in the mechanics, okay? However, I almost started calling this game. The fixed target number they introduced forth with the difficulty reducing dice pools was a lot more user friendly. Now you're looking for a 4. Roll as many dice as you want, pull out all the 4s. That was so much smoother, right? So smooth that White Wolf picked it up in 1991. And they kept it, and they do their own mechanics, but that's a different game, different story, for a different day, all right? But just know, I see you, Daryl. I see you there. Should be able to upload bigger files now. Thank you, Daryl. You did something interesting. So the mechanics are very, very garbled in this game. There's just a lot of garbled mechanics. I mean, seriously, let me see if I can do this here as well. That's that right there is a really, 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 really big thing to do when it comes to the dice mechanic. However, there is another thing. There's truly another thing that happens inside this game. And I almost named this game or this episode. Today we're talking about Shadowrun. Nope, sorry, I still can't upload it to Discord. It's an 8 meg file, so there you go. And that is a game of multiple DMs and kinda sorta, yeah. Now we went over the different roles that people play in the game yesterday. Alright? And here's the thing. There's a lot of crunch for the GM to understand. Alright? Now with the normal stuff that goes down, we've got vehicle rules, gun rules, melee rules, and in Shadowrun, I said this game is crunchy. So there are rules for type of gun you're using, the type of ammo you got, what is the recoil, what is the damage, what is the reload stuff. There is a lot. And as I said yesterday, if you are one of the people that like keeping extensive notes, and when you're playing, say, Dungeons and Dragons, you do keep account of how many potions you have, how many torches you've used, how many pounds of stuff you're carrying, this is a game that you'll like, right? However, what I just talked about with standard movement, combat, firearms, all that stuff, that is a lot to wrap your head around. Now, with what became the 2 different player roles, but back in 3rd edition it was 3, there were separate rules to the point where people could have entire gaming sessions with 1 player at the table. Here's a hint. You fans of this channel and this company and what we do are named after them. I'm talking, of course, about the Deckers. All right. Hey, what's going on, Nerd Soul? Thank you so much, man. And hey, y'all need to like and subscribe at Nerd Soul too. Especially since I'm on his channel at least twice a week. So yeah, that's a thing. But yeah, he brings that street geek and that nerd soul out there, really big in the community, especially comics from people of color. And yeah, we talk about some good stuff, man. Real good stuff. Good dude. Family man, trying to make the world a better place for the people coming up behind him. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, yeah, Daryl. Yeah, we got Daryl over here. Yeah, is the target moving? Are you moving? What's the wind like? If what is the flight speed of a latent swallow carrying a coconut? All of these things are in the game as is. Now, you want to play a Decker. Deckers are the hackers that go onto the Matrix, jack in, and they go into virtual reality. And here's the thing, they don't take other people with them. Yes, I did say multiple DMs. So, a standard DM for Shadowrun either has to spend 2 or 3 months really practicing the game so they understand the rules. Okay? Oh, I'm getting there, Xanth. Okay? To understand the rules of hacking and decking and going into the Matrix. And one of the problems that there were at the table was when the Decker decided to log on, the rest of the players that weren't in the computer world pretty much had to go home or pull out a board game and wait for that independent session to be over. And the GM had to know the rules to that, so it was very much like a second game. And the same thing applied to the riggers, okay? Because the riggers, the people who could do the cyber hacking and take over drones and computer systems that affect things, okay? So you had the Deckers who were controlling information, and then the riggers who took over the machines. In later editions, as I said yesterday, those 2 character roles were both melded into hacker because the game was invented in the late 80s, okay? We didn't know how hacking worked at that time. Time moved forward, and we learned, all right? All right, and the thing is, there are vehicle rules, there are drone rules, and when the rigger wanted to take over that stuff, they had to know that stuff inside and out, or else the game master would spend half of the session looking up whether or not they could do the thing that they just imagined in game and it still be fair and challenging. And as Zath said, magic. Okay, there could be an entire gaming session of your one magician doing stuff in the astral plane while the street samurai, the adept, the rigger, and the decker waited patiently for 2 or 3 hours for their turn for the magician's gaming session to be over. So it was very weird and off balance. And the fastest way through this was the fastest way through this, and I'm pretty sure Daryl is going to back me up on this one, was when you're running a game of Shadowrun, you disallow 2 of those 3 character roles. Okay, you can say I'm running a game and there won't be any riggers. I'm running a game and there will be no magicians. Okay, no magicians in this shadow running group. Or the second fastest way would be for the players of those classes to be the ones to learn those mechanics, essentially becoming their own DM when it came to mechanics. Okay, because that is a lot to know. Again, each one of these character roles, and notice I'm not saying character classes, each one of these skill sets, these things that make people special, is a whole lot to manage for one person in the head. But what set Shadowrun apart was that because it is a game of multiple GMs, your wizard GM, your rigger GM, your decker GM, and your standard GM, it's a very, 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 very collaborative game. Okay? I know back in my day when I would play Shadowrun, I'm sure you guys have noticed I never said I really ran the game. And this is the reason. If and when there were GMs that would run Shadowrun, one of the experiments that I ran that ran pretty well was that the GM did have a PC. Okay? Now they had to play their PC like any other PC. However, when the GM agreed with the player of the rigger, the decker, or the magician, that person would then become the GM, and they would have to run the session inside the matrix if they were a decker, and let the GM know what they could do, what they couldn't do, and what the dice rolls were and all that. Was there cheating? Probably, but the game is already difficult enough. So when it came down to those things, it was super duper collaborative, and it was very much a round the table round. Right? So yeah, that is kind of why it had multiple G. And how there was always the head game master that ran the game overall and ran the story, and that was always a very, very, very interesting way to do things, because the overall GM, when they were playing their character, still wouldn't let the rigger or the magician or any of those people learn their notes, and because they had all that. And for the record, okay, when the GM had their player character, they could not play a rigger, a decker, or a magician. They had to play an adept or a samurai or a face. Okay, just to make sure there were no shenanigans and no weird on. But it did make sense, and the games turned out to be very, very fun. When it came down to it, and you had or a gaming group that trust. Now, let me talk on some of the downsides. Okay, let me talk on some of the downsides, because this in way, no way, um, no way, reflects on this game being bad overall. Oh, I forgot to mention one other way. And the other way to really do stuff like that would be contacts. If you spent money in your background for contacts, you could have an NPC do all the stuff that would be there. So if you're not playing any of those things, you could always put points into contacts to have a Decker contact to get stuff, a magician contact to be played by the DM in case you guys run across any bug spirits or rat spirits in the alleys, you know. But here's the thing, okay, and I'm pulling up some stuff. This game, in all of its iterations, in my opinion, is edited very poorly. And by that I mean this. Creative interpretations of the rules. Yep, that is a 100. It's edited poorly because it was so busy trying to be realistic. Well, let me tell you guys a quick story, right? In the world that we live in today, the actual world, IRL, we love the concept of robots. We're trying to build robots that work, right? But here's the thing about robots in the world that we live in. We haven't quite mastered the human body to the point where we can recreate it, right? This is really, 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 really important, okay? Just this action right here. Picking up a cup has tens of thousands of calculations for the sets of our nerve endings. Oh man, yeah, I'm getting there, Daryl. I'm getting there. Yeah. And when it comes to that, to write down and to program how to pick up a cup takes so many computer programmers, hours and hours, a bank of rendering computers that would put Square Enix to shame just to snap a finger. Okay. Now, one of the things that robotics or roboticists today talk about is it is difficult to get a machine that can run like a human being. Okay, because running is essentially falling forward with style repeatedly over and over again. It is a series of jumps in sequence. And if you guys don't really understand how difficult it is to calculate those things, just think about the phantom step, you know, when you're walking up and down the stairs and you think there's one more step than there actually is, and you end up doing the thing. Okay? Now, why am I on this tangent? Because in this book, since it was set in the modern time 90s, we didn't realize that the best was the enemy of good enough. So instead of doing what I love 5th edition for doing and coming up with lampshade skills and lampshade attributes, they tried to go granular and calculate for every single thing. Okay? Every single thing. Again, when you're shooting someone, what is the wind like? Are you in motion? Are they in motion? How many lumens are actually going up on the light? Do they have a gun as well? Okay, now that we understand the weather, the humidity, the wind, the elevation, the caliber of bullet, the kickback. Yes, recoil was a thing. The recoil of the bullet and the bystanders around, how many decibels do the gun really put out, and are you in an alley? And if you're in an alley, what are the acoustics there to see whether or not you can be heard when you're cocking the gun hammer back? It is just really, Really, really a lot. Now, once you mastered the system, it's pretty easy to know what to cut out, what not to cut out, and to make things flow. But in these books are the hows to calculate all those things. They read more like what a role-playing game is packaged to be versus what a role-playing game is. And they're packaged to be textbooks. You know, this was one of the things that got in the way of a lot of people. Like, okay, on page 109 of 3rd edition, ranged combat. Ahem. Shadowrun offers 2 types of combat: ranged combat and melee, also known as hand-to-hand combat. All ranged combat, whether it involves firearms, projectile weapon, or thrown weapons, is resolved in the same manner. For information on ranged magical combat, see the magic section starting on page 158. Resolving ranged combat. Use the procedure outlined below to resolve ranged combat. Following paragraphs explain each step in greater detail. There are 7 of these, so strap in. Step 1, determine range. Count the number of meters to the target and compare the weapon type to the appropriate range columns on the weapon's range table. Page 111. The number listed above the column is the base target number for the attacker's success test. So let's turn to page 111. They have a holdout pistol. At short range, which is 4 meters, your target number is 4 at short range, and your dice pool is 0 to 5. Okay. Range in meters. 0 to 5. Your target number is 4. Your range in meters, if it's 6 to 15 meters away, your target number becomes 5. If it's 16 to 30 meters away, it's 6. If it's 31 to 50 meters away, it's 9. And I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, well, that's the GM's responsibility to know. No, not. Because if you are a player and you have a weapon for more than 3 game sessions, i.e., it's not new anymore, then you should know relatively what it's capable of. Okay, you should know whether or not your gun has range, is in range, and isn't in range, and a rough idea of what your target numbers should or shouldn't be. Now that was step 1. Step 2, apply situational target modifiers. Consult the range combat modifier table on page 12 and apply the appropriate situation modifier. I went through them already. Are you moving? Are they moving? What's the wind? What's the light? Does the weapon have recoil? All right. 3rd, make the attacker's success test. The attacker makes his success test using the appropriate combat skill modified by the dice from the character's combat pool. Count the successor's attack roll. Okay. Again, everything is written this way, and it's so dry. Now, if you go, and then resolve the dodge test. Okay, if the target wishes to attempt to dodge the attack, he may use his combat pool against a target number of 4 with modifiers. Of 4 with modifiers. What are those modifiers? Keep reading. Let's see. Count the successes. The target rolls. A clean miss occurs if the number of successes of the target's combat pool dice exceeds the attacker's success. We have now come to call this an opposed roll. Roll to hit, roll to dodge. Done. All right. Now, and let's see here. Where else are we? We are page 108. Step 6, determine the outcome. Compare the attacker's and target success, including both dodge and damage resistance success. Depending on the target's which character rolls the highest number of net successes, the weapon damage is reduced or increased, staged up or down appropriately. A tie means the attacker inflicts the weapon's base damage. And I'm gonna point out something in that last paragraph. Depending on which character rolls the highest net number of success, comma, the weapon damage is reduced or increased, staged up appropriately. Okay. Now, on the weapons range table, it says all the ranged weapons that are there, what the range is, and what the target number is. But you have to look the weapon itself up to see what modifiers could be there and what damage it does. It is so difficult to read through. All right? But much like taking culinary courses in school along with chemistry, your patience will be rewarded if you have the wherewithal to go through all of that jazz, learning the charts, learning the tables, understanding what they mean in such a way, in such a way that you can explain it to someone else simply. Then you can run the game a little more cleanly. And here was the thing about this game. By about your second session, you understood what you were doing. Okay, that was really, really big. You could really understand what you're doing by your second, maybe your third session if you're paying attention. But reading the book felt like being quizzed by a gatekeeper. I open one of the main rule books and I get, what is your name? What is your quest? What is the flight speed of a red-tailed swallow carrying a coconut against northern headwinds across the Atlantic Ocean in the spring after dark? And I'm just going, all right. And these are all the things you have to know just to shoot a gun. Okay. The driving rules, the piloting drone rules, the rules, all of those things are written in that kind of arcane jargon. So, this particular game is very hard to learn. Now, there are some really good tutorials out. And again, I put the quick start rules right up there in Decker's on the book. You guys can have them. They won't cost you a dime. Just go over there, download the PDF, read through them, see if you guys can run a game. Let me know how that goes. Post the stuff on the Discord. Let's talk about this stuff, because I'm not gonna lie. The setting of this game and the flow of the game once it actually gets going is very fun. As you guys know, I play hang on here. We got a question coming in from the YouTube. Have we talked about how turn orders work? No, we have not, Daryl, and we are not going to in this episode because we only have 10 minutes left before I'm out of time. Because I have to get ready for for Fantasy Tumblers tonight, because we are going to be running D&D 5th edition right here on the channel at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time tonight. So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of stuff that comes down there. Yeah, I could talk about your combat pools and your dice pools and all that stuff, and I'm just, again, now this is, again, your mileage may vary, and if you play the game and you love the game, rules is written. Know anyone who does, but if you do, go for it, have fun, learn to teach, and spread your gospel. Okay? I'm a big fan of playing. I do like learning games, but I learn games in order to play them, and I like having a good time. But since I do play so many miniatures games, I do like rolling dice as well. And Shadowrun is great if you like having a handful of dice and throwing them on a table. That is some really, really fun stuff to do. So yeah, these are the things that you can really go in there. I love games. You guys saw me do Dead Zone here. I love games with exploding dice. I really do. It makes it so, like, there is always a sub game within a game when you're rolling a dice and then it explodes and then explodes again and explodes again. It's like, yeah, let's just keep doing this. That in and of itself is tense enough and heart beating enough to really make a lot of this go. Okay? So I'm a really big fan of that kind of stuff. But again, there is a certain level of um, how long do I have to study this before we can actually. Now, if you guys, 5th edition Dungeons and game from Alligator Alley that I talk about all the time being Esper Genesis. Okay? Now, Esper Genesis is a sci-fi game. However, they have rules for guns. They have rules for cybernetic augmentation. They actually have multiple mega corporations that control things like interstellar travel and access to Sorium, which is like the magical fuel. So, if you are a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons fan or GM that wants to do a Shadowrun type thing, what I would do and what I do now, okay, is I create a planet called New Seattle. All right? And I put my players in New Seattle under the Esper Genesis rules, which are 5th edition, and I run. Again, they have technomancers and wizards and fighters. They have lightsabers and laser swords. They have ballistic weapons and laser weapons and sonic weapons. All the stuff that you would find in this system. If you just want to play with the setting, pick up Esper Genesis from Alligator Alley Games. They're very cool people. The book costs about $50, and all of the GM work to run a dystopian cyberpunk fantasy game are already right here. Okay, so mix these two together. That's a lot less work for some. Now, there's a lot of people out there that have tried to do some fan-based stuff like modern rules or Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. But of the ones I've read, Esper Genesis is really cool up there, and you don't really have. There's not a lot of books to buy. I think they've released the Player's Guide. I'm waiting for the Master Technician's Guide, which is the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm waiting for that to come because I backed the Kickstarter. And I think the threat database, i.e., the monster manual, okay, should be coming out relatively soon, and they are all available via their PDF on the website. Just up real quick. And for the record, no, they are not paying me. They don't even know that I talk about this on the show. I haven't had a whole lot of time to reach out to Rich Escoffier, I believe his name is. But yeah, so let's see what we got to talk about. The products. What products are out there? Yeah, rule books, adventures. There are free resources or mechanic stuff. There we go. Yeah, there we go. So threat database came out in August. And again, and there you go. There's quite a few, and it's a fun system. It's got all the stuff that you might need. Of course, they released the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, and then the Dungeon Master's Guide. And yeah, I just gotta reach out to those guys and say, hey, where my copy at? But yeah, so quite honestly, all of these things are out there, and you can really play a Shadowrun game with the lore in D20. A system like Esper Genesis. I'm a big fan. I really am. You know, especially with the machine spirits and all that stuff. Because if you guys watch my live playthroughs and the games that I run here, yes, I love spiders. Okay. You know, I am a big fan of swarm things and stuff that make people go, hey, no. So yeah, this is the stuff that we talked about. Tomorrow on the show, we are going to have another episode, of course. And tomorrow on the dark side of the room, we're going to share war stories about playing dystopian type games with magic, with our boy DW McCann. All right. Of course, DW, the Bart in the deck, is going to come down, and I love talking with him, and I think you guys love talking with him. Let's see. We also aren't discussing the optical technology. No, there's no time today, black and white. Because seriously, there are so many different layers in Shadowrun. Okay? If you guys are looking for a really thick system, I say thick. As you guys know, I have been researching Warhammer 40K. You guys know I'm not a fan of Games Workshop as a company. And you guys should also know, if you've been here for a while, that I'm not a big fan of the player base of Warhammer 40K in North Los Angeles County and Orange County. And here on the south side, we don't even have gaming stores. So, but I keep hearing the lore is great, the lore is great, the lore is so thick, the lore is great. And I've noticed that there is a lot of stuff. And it did, and this is one of the reasons that I've been on it, it very much reminds me of Shadowrun in the completion of the lore. It is so thick, all right? There is so much there. Histories, the society, the political intrigue, the industrial espionage. Like, if you're playing Shadowrun, you're hired by a Mr. Johnson that works for someone, but they're paying you to rob somewhere or to plant a computer virus into a corporation. Where do they work? How do they work? There is just so many different things that are out there in the Shadowrun universe, and it's all thick. If you don't want to play a set of runners that are in a city, you can go to a res. There are wastelands if you want to do the post-apocalyptic thing. If you want to deal with the dragons, there is a thing. Now, before I get out of here, because we only got a few minutes left before I start getting paid off, understand that this game was made in the late 80s and the early 90s. What does that mean? That means that it was made at the height of Generation X adolescenthood. Okay? We brought anime to the United States. Our childhood consisted of ninjas and Chuck Norris. We thought that the katana was the real world equivalent to a lightsaber, okay? So you got, most of us as kids loved sport bikes so much that Kawasaki even named a sport bike the Ninja. All right, so we grew up with Chuck Norris movies and Top Gun and ninja stuff and kung fu theater. So there's a lot of elements in this game that are politically problematic today. Okay, a lot of the stuff didn't age well. Also in the 80s, that was the time where we talked about yesterday, where it seemed like Japan was taking over the economy of the world. Today it would be China, Russia, and you know, just because I'm a 45-year-old man now, I understand geopolitics a lot better. But back then, we didn't, and we didn't know how bad it was. So now, when you're running the game, try and stay away from the offensive stereotypes. And we're talking the offensive stereotypes of indigenous people, of black people in cities, of Latinos when you're dealing with the Atlan, because again, Mexican cartels went legit and they took Mexico and they run it like a corporation. And please be very wary of all of the Japanese stereotypes, because the show was written at a time where we didn't know much about Japan. We didn't really like Japan, but we liked their stuff. So there was a lot of cultural appropriation. Okay? It's like they were taking our jobs, we were taking their fashion. It was a thing. So with all that, I want to say thank everybody for showing up. And I love that the chat has been so active today. You guys really keep me going. Major shout outs to my people over on the YouTube, like Daryl and Nerdy Brew. Check out RJ's channel, by the way, too. Much like me, he drinks coffee and talks about nerd stuff. That's the Nerdy Brew. And it's the Nerdy Brew, not a Nerdy Brew, not Nerdy Brew, but the Nerdy Brew over on YouTube. And of course, Nerd Soul, NERDSOUL. You know, thank all those guys for showing up. Thank all of you guys that have watched this show today. And again, this is only day 2 of our 4-day part on Shadowrun. Okay, so thank you guys so much for showing up, like Zero Supa, Ox, 420, I think it's 420 Fiction, Alexis Nexus. We've also got Alien Gathering, Black and White Now in Color, Casino Thanks, Commander Root is Nickable, Kitten Rescue, God, let's see, Neon Arlecchino, Sophie King Super, and Xanth, our newest patron. And if you guys, oh, Vixabel's here. Thank you so much for coming on in. And again, if you guys like what we do, subscribe to the channel, share our videos, have people come down. We are here Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, every week. All right, this is my job. Although I'm in the running for a job somewhere else, I'll give you guys an announcement when that comes down, so I can let you guys know what's going on with that. But I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't even know if they need people, but I'm going to be meeting some people on Friday, and we'll see how that goes. Either way, thank you guys for showing up. If you guys want to get a hold of us, join Deckers on the Book, as I said. You know, today I gave away the quick start rules for Shadowrun, the quick start rules that came out in 2012. They were free on free game day, so I'm giving them away because I'm pretty sure I can give away something that was already given away. You know, it's a free thing. There it is. It's out there. You can hit me up on backinthedeck@gmail.com, Twitter, Instagram. Check out our TikTok, and again, the Facebook group Deckers on the Book. If you guys join that, then I'll let you guys in. Head on over to Files, and yeah. So, and once you do that, bada boom, bada bing, bada bizomi, you guys will get a free copy of the quick start rules for all of that. So with all that, like I said, thank you guys for showing up. And if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, y'all know what y'all got. Race, religion, creed, all that other stuff. You can just tell them if they're pulling a card on you, put it back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for showing up today, and we will see you tomorrow on the dark side of the room with W. McCann. All right? Thank you guys.